Okay, I thought I'd put together a little video on how to put together this Windoware easy fit folding arm awning. Honestly, I don't think the instructions, I'd like the awning, I do like it, but the instructions I found were terrible. And this is my attempt at putting one up, but I want to put up a second one. It took me basically a day to put this thing up. But it's worked out well. So I'm going to do this one much faster, and I'm going to put together this little video on it. So here's the instructions. Now I find the instructions very hard to follow. They do put in this hardware, which is good. These are the brackets that hold it on the wall. These are the wrist joints. I'll explain to them later. These are just the end caps for these units for later. These are the dyno bolts for putting it into brick or masonry. These go through this thing to hold it in place later on. So I'll use that later. This is the mechanical arm that winds the awning in and out. That goes on the left arm of this thing. So it's got clearly labelled left and right arms. Here's the right side of it. Here's a little Allen key. They do say that they'll also include a little spanner for doing things, but they don't. The last one they didn't include the spanner, and this one they didn't include the spanner. It's got these little threads. These threads are for putting through the fabric of the awning, which will stretch out later. So you'll see how to do that. This is the little windy thing that winds the awning in and out. That's no problem. We can worry about that later. So I'll just put that over there. And so then what we do, here's they mention here, as you can see, we've got the left and right rollers. That's these bits over here, up the top, 1 and 2, left and right rollers. That's these. That's what the fabric rolls around, and we have to join them. So you can see, here's the right roller. So we put that on my right, and we'll get the left roller here, put that on my left. Okay. Now they have to be joined by that thing there. Then they mention they've also got here torsion bar left and right. The torsion bar are these things. So these, they're labelled left and right. There's the left one, so I'll put that over the left. See that? Sorry. Trying to do it one-handed, so it was a bit rough. And this is the right torsion bar. That goes on the right, see? It's where's it labelled? Huh. It'll be labelled. Hang on a sec. Okay, I'll have a look in a sec. Okay, just the reason I'm doing this video is that I followed the instructions of somebody else on YouTube and they actually set it up wrong, and that cost me hours to try and figure out that they'd done it wrong because it wasn't working. They corrected it, but they didn't make it clear how they corrected. So here's the torsion bars. You do not unlock that. These zip ties, keep the ties on here, keep the zip ties on. That's till later when you've got it on the wall. Here's the roller bars that will connect through this, and as you see, it's labelled left and right. Here's the, I think they're called front bars, number 5 and 6, yeah, front bars. Left and right, they'll hook in here, so we connect them up. That little goes into there, and these little things goes into here and here. Okay, so we'll put them in all together in a minute, and this one goes inside there, obviously. That's all simple. Okay, so we'll get going on that now. I'll just put them together. Okay, so I've joined the left and right sides. Sorry, I rushed and I snapped, excuse the blood, pinched my fingertip, my thumb tip, so I'm bleeding a bit. So I just put a quick bit of electrical tape on it to stop it. So we've got this is the front bar, this is the roller bar, this is the torsion bars. That's the front bar. So now it says on the instructions, slide the front bar wrist supports into either end of the front bars. Now these are the wrist supports, I presume, because they're shaped a little bit like a wrist. That's all. They don't do anything else except they look like, you can see, if you look like that, kind of like a wrist if you use your imagination. So I assume that's why they're a wrist support. So we've got to slide these inside this, and they will point into here, this end, not through this way, but this way. So what we do is we do that now. So we put them in. So how they slide in, so they go up the end of this, like this, and they slide up that little groove up in there. It's very easy. And later we'll tighten them. So I'll wriggle with that with 2 hands. Have a look at the finished product. Here's the torsion bars. Here's the wrist support, the wrist linking thing. And see how it points outwards to go to the front bar. That's how we're going to do it. Like that. Okay, so I'll show you how to do that on the correct sides. So it's easy to get that wrong round the wrong way, because that will have to make room in order to affect this driving mechanism later for it to fit. So in order for that to work, we want the right lined up with right, and we want this over and lifted up like that. Like that. So it's held forward. I'll explain it to you in a minute. So in order for that to work, this has to point that way. Okay, and then we spin it over, and then we put that in through like that. But it's actually held, it'll be held up in that position. We're not putting it in that position. That won't work. Doesn't leave enough space to put those mechanisms on the end. It won't work. We have to have it this way, that way, this spun over, there. So in order to do this, we slide this on this way. From the end, we'll slide that up, pointing this way. Okay, and the same with this one up the other end. Okay, I've got the wrist bars on. So then we just turn this over and line it up. And that goes in there. And this one goes in there. Then we can tighten them up, and we can tighten them up, leaving them a little bit loose. Okay, so I'm just going to use these to tighten it up. I like to use this little tool. So you put this on the end. There. And just tighten her up. You don't tighten it all the way. I won't tighten it all the way. It says to, I don't know why, but yeah, good. And then I'll use this other tool to tighten up the Allen keys through here. Okay, so that's pretty easy. Move this over, put that in there. Tighten those. You can just use a handheld. Hang on. What I've got to make sure is that this is 6 centimeters from the end, 60 millimeters, and the same the other side. So I've just botched that. I didn't do that. So I need to loosen it off and make that 6 centimeters or 60 millimeters from the end, and then tighten those wrist supports. The left side, the left bar, that you put the mechanics on. So that's more important, that we get the 6 centimeters between here and here. The other end isn't quite 6 centimeters, but it doesn't matter as much. So I can't quite get 6 centimeters on both ends. So this is the important end, the left side. So it says left there, left there, left there. On that side is where we put that, this one with the gear mechanism. So we need 6 centimeters there. Now that I've slid this along here, I'm going to tighten these bits as I just did. Okay, so now we put the gear mechanism on here. As you see, the gear mechanism has a little, that slides up in there. That goes on the inside. It's got it orientated either way. It slides up like that. So then when we tighten this, it tightens it on the end. It says to use a hammer. I'll have to put this down. Oh, here it goes. Well, I didn't need a hammer, but that's in. See that? Now, if we had orientated this the other way around, this bar would be here, and you wouldn't be able to insert this bit. The front bar has to go into that little socket in there. And if this was spun around the other way, that would be in the way and it wouldn't work at all. So that's why you had to get this the right way with these rest bars. Now we can put this up in there and it'll work. So I'll just tighten this bit. So it's, there you go. That's nice and tight there. So then, and we, okay, but now we're going to put the fabric in here and in here. But first, see those cords, those little straps? We straighten them out and thread them into the plastic, into the fabric. Just laid out the fabric. Now these things, these straps are threaded into there, all the way through. On that end, and this is the valance. This is the bit that hangs down the front. See it hanging down the front up there? That's the bit that hangs down, just up there. So it looks good. So just got to orientate it all properly. So get those cords through. Now, the instructions aren't very clear, but we get the fabric and we glide it up onto that bar, the roller bar. And then we roll it, and then the other end, we glide up onto this bar, there. Okay? And just got to roll it up onto the right part of that bar. So I'll just make sure the orientation. So how we slide it up is here. See this little bit here? We slide it up that little hole and we glide it up all the way. So we just grab it and we thread it along in the orientation that it is now. Just go straight along there. I can't hold the camera and do it, so I'll do it. So I'll grab that, bring it across, that little thing, I'll slide into there. I'll slide in up there, and I'll slide it all the way up. You'll see. Jumped ahead a little bit. We've got this mostly tightened, but not fully. We have to tighten them fully properly later. So you can see the orientation. This arm is held up. Here's the left, here's the right, here's the folding mechanism arms here, and this lifts up because this wrist is pointed upwards from here, or you can see how that's orientated. Okay, it's very important. So we've done this bit, we've done this bit, we have done this bit, and now. Okay, I just slid that on as easy as anything. It was really easy to slide along. Now what I do is I put, see how it's got the little number there? To me that's not the pretty side. You want the pretty side down, because I think you want to see the pretty side when you're under the awning. So put the number up, slide it on, and then I'll roll this. I'll just quickly show you. And here you can see how it's rolled like that. So from the top it extends out. So you got to roll it over the top and down and around. So we'll roll this like this. We'll roll it up this way. We'll roll it that way. Roll it, roll it, roll it, and then I'll put it, slide it through this one here. I've just rolled that up the way I said. Now obviously it faces this unit. Now the front of this unit, you've got to think about where the front is. That, obviously that crankshaft points down that way. So we want this threaded into this here. And then at the, hang on, not that one. Sorry, at the top. This one. You can't get thread through there, the top. Then this other one underneath is for the valance. That valance hangs down from here. See that? So the valance goes in that one. This one goes into the top here. Okay? Makes it easy. So I'll slide that in now from the other end and just slide it along. And then this will shift into that crankshaft. And then I'll put this other end over that other end. Easy as anything. Right, took me 30 seconds. It's now slid along there. Now what I'll do is I'll move this up. I'll angle this over down to the ground. And I'll see if I can do it on the video. Pop this around the other way. I'll get it off that support. And I'll line that up and push that into there. It's easy. And then I'll put the other end on. Alright, so that slid on really easily. So I pop that into there. And up the other side, I've now put in the other end of this support. Did the same mechanism, that slides up, that slides in that little groove. And it fits in perfectly in there, easy. And this, because of where we put it like this, is lifted up out of the way. If we'd put it the other way around, like the other video said, that I watched and did my head in, now what we do is we put little caps on the end here and on the other end, and see how this other end has this protruding. I'll just cut the end off. I'll just cut that bit off, because otherwise I can't put the cap on. I almost forgot we put the valance on now before we put that end cap, and just to show you how easy it is. One person, this bit gets a little stuck on this bit, but this is one-handed. I'm doing this, by the way, with an injured thumb, so it's all pretty easy to do once you know how to do it. And we go to the too far, and we'll have to cut that end off to put these caps on. Okay, now it's together, which is good. It's ready to hang. So now I'll carry it around to where I want to put it. Now these things, you just got to make sure, I'll just roll it over a bit. These brackets, you got to make sure you put them far enough apart that they'll fit out on that bar there, and also fit outside. They won't fit in closer. You've got to put them on the outside of those bolts, not on the inside. So you've got to put them far enough apart that they'll, because otherwise you can't bolt them into place. You can bolt them to the wall, but not onto the awning. So this one has to go all the way out to here, at least in this area somewhere. Okay? So I have to make sure of that. Anywhere in that range is fine. Anywhere in that range outside of those bolts. Okay, so I'm mounting this up here. Now I can't go above the light. Ideally I'd put the awning above the light so the light can shine down here. However, if I put it above the light, it won't go all the way, so it'll be hanging out that end too far. So I'm going below the light, and we'll just have to accept that. So I've drilled a 13mm hole there. These things come with a 14, you've got to drill a 14mm hole for these. But the interesting thing is the provided Dynabolts don't fit through these holes that you're meant to fit them through. So I'm going to have to drill out this to make it wider. I should have just gone and got smaller Dynabolts. So rather than needing a 14mm hole, they need a 12mm hole, and they would have fit through there. And just to get 4 Dynabolts at the hardware store would have been a better way to go. But I've already drilled the hole, and I don't want to go to the hardware store, I just want to get it done. So I'm going to use this to drill this out, drill that out, to drill them out, and to put them in. So I needed a space between the bottom of that light to the bottom of this bracket. I needed a space of 210 mils. So I've got a space of 255 mils from the bottom of that light to there. So that way there's going to be a little bit of little gap. So it'll go up to 210. To the bottom it'll be to there. The top of the awning will go to there, which will look pretty good actually. One thing I had to factor in was the gap because we've rendered around here. But even having a render, this comes out enough that I'll still be able to, you see, I'll still be able to put the awning in front. No problems at all. So it's going to be held fine. So it's all going to work. Now I've got to get a level line across to that side, at least 2400 mils apart or more, and I'll drill the next hole, which is there for the brackets. Okay, I've only got a 13 mil drill, so I needed a 14 mil hole. So I just worked the hole until it will just receive that. So it's receiving it now. So now I know it can get. So now I just drill out these holes, so it will receive it, and I'll put the first bracket up. Okay, so I've got those drill holes big enough. Now just tighten this up. There, it's the easy way. Oops. There, they're tightened up beautifully. And now I'll put the other one in across there. Same deal. That works well. Okay, so I got the two brackets up. Would have been a lot easier if I'd just gone and got different dyno bolts. But, so I measured, it doesn't look right, but it did. I know that's correct. One brick, yep, that's one brick in, one brick in. But I did the level, I did the spirit level across. So I did the spirit level across to make sure I was getting it about level with this, with the proper level. Okay, so now I'll put the bracket up and screw it in. Okay, so far it's looking pretty good. Only we got this screw in, and remember we had to tighten these. I just tightened them on both sides. I got that one through on this end, but on the other end it doesn't quite fit. I can't get the screw in because of that. As you can see, I can't get the bolt through. So I'm going to get a little bolt, or so I'm going to figure that out. Otherwise it's in, and then I can just snip all these and then bring it out. But I want to get this sorted first, so I don't know what to do yet. Okay, so we got the awning up. I drilled a hole through to get that bolt through. I just drilled it up and clamped it in tight, and then I just threw some water over it. It's actually waterproof. It doesn't let the water through. So even in a reasonable rain, people can sit under there. I'll have to level that up a bit better. But it looks actually good.